Negative interest rates. They don't make sense. How can you have negative interest rates? But the thing is, they do exist. They exist and they're part of life. Why? How? And why should they exist? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You know what it's like? You see this? This. I wish I had something bigger. But this is what I have in my wallet. 10 francs. Just imagine I give you 10 francs and then I pay you money to look after my 10 francs that I've lent you. I lent you 10 francs and I give you money because I've lent you 10 francs. I'm sorry, but like to ordinary people, that doesn't make sense. Why on earth would you lend to somebody and then pay them for holding the money that you lent them? There's no logic in that. This is really cool. We've got a new coffee shop here. The coffee is amazing, really good.
Yeah, good,
Yeah, can I have a cappuccino?
So shimmy out, shimmy yeah. We could unwind if you just let me. Shimmy out, shimmy yeah. Bump it and grind, let's go.
Okay, coffee break over. Now back to what I was talking about. How can negative interest rates actually happen? Well, believe it or not, it can happen. And it can happen during periods of deflation when people decide to hoard their money rather than spend and lend it. And the only way that central banks can force them not to is to charge them for it. And that is why we get negative interest rates. It's happened in Japan during that long period of deflation that they experienced. And it's also happened in other countries too. Sweden has done it, Switzerland has done it, the EU has done it, and so has Denmark. Here's another way that negative interest rates can occur, and that's through the way that governments borrow money. What they typically do when they need to borrow money is they issue bonds. Why does the government need to borrow money? I mean, it's the government after all, and a big government like the US government could easily just print money. It could just print the money that it needs and pay off its debt. Well, the problem is that if the US government printed $22 trillion of debt, it would reduce the US dollar to 1/10 of its current value. It would create an environment where we would see hyperinflation, and that's not exactly that's the reason why they don't do that. Very simply, printing money destroys wealth, while borrowing and lending money just transfers wealth from one entity to another, one person to another, one institution to another. So how on earth can these government bonds end up paying a negative yield? Sometimes investors will pay an enormous premium to hold these bonds, a premium that's so large that it actually ends up delivering a negative yield, even with the coupons. Now this is strange. Why would investors do that? It's because investors see these bonds or these government bonds as a store of value or a safe haven asset. It's especially noticeable in the government bond market. Countries like Germany and Switzerland have got negative yielding debt across their entire term structure, all the way to their longest dated maturities. So how is this all going to end? Because surely this can't continue. Well, you know, we might be witnessing the creation of a huge bubble which is about to burst. Or we might not. That's the thing, we don't know. What we're seeing today, post-financial crisis, is what appears to be an extended period of low economic growth, of falling productivity, especially in the developed world. And this may persist, and if it persists, then interest rates are going to stay lower for longer. If you look over the last 30 years, interest rates have actually been falling consistently for a very, very long time. And although Donald Trump may hate this and may be trying to persuade the Fed to keep cutting interest rates and keep them low for longer, he might not need to. I mean, interest rates may just have to stay where they are anyway, because we have no other instrument to try and stimulate the economy and stimulate labour productivity going forward.